From the very earliest days of the Christian church right down to the present day, one question has vexed Christians. It is the question of the relationship between Christian faith and the cultures in which Christians live. H. Richard Niebuhr, in his book Christ and Culture, calls this the enduring problem. As many of you know, I'm going to teach a short course on Niebuhr's Christ and Culture at a seminary in Pakistan later this fall, and I've struggled with the question of how to prepare that course and keep up with these daily devotionals and keep up with all of the other duties that I have to do in ministry. The obvious solution finally hit me between the eyes. I'll use these devotionals, which are really more like short lessons in Bible and theology anyway, to prepare my lectures for the fall. Today, and for the rest of this week, I plan to lay out the problem and how Niebuhr approaches it. Then in the weeks to come, I'll walk through the book, stopping here and there to admire his scholarship. So, thank you in advance for your indulgence. Let's get started with it. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas. And this is your daily devotional for Monday, June 3rd, 2024. The issue of the relationship of Christian faith to the broader culture is as modern as it is ancient. Many of the political struggles we're experiencing in contemporary America revolve around this very question. On the one hand, on the one extreme, are those who wish to see America become an officially Christian country. On the other extreme are those secularists who wish to eradicate Christian faith from public discourse. Most of us, I dare say, live somewhere between these two extremes. We may not be Christian nationalists, aching to install a theocracy in America, but neither are we secularists who see no role for religion in the public square. One of the things Niebuhr helps us see is that these extremes have existed in the church for a very long time, and that different Christian traditions have come at the problem in different and yet very typical ways. One story from the Gospels seems to capture the problem particularly well. It is an incident recorded in nearly identical terms in all three of the synoptic Gospels, in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The antagonists in each of the Gospels' versions vary somewhat, but the substance of the story is the same in all three. Here is Mark's version of the story. Then they sent to him some Pharisees and some Herodians to trap him in what he said. And they came and said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and show deference to no one, for you do not regard people with partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with truth. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not? Should we pay them or should we not?" But knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, "Why are you putting me to the test? Bring me a denarius and let me see it." And they brought one. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this and whose title?" They answered, "The emperor's." Jesus said to them, "Give to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." And they were utterly amazed at him. So some people quote this passage and Jesus' clever answer to his antagonists and believe that simply repeating the words settles the argument, settles the problem. The problem, of course, is that different Christians read this story in such different ways that they end up talking past each other. Does Jesus mean that religion and politics are two separate realms never to meet? There is no single answer that everyone can agree on. Niebuhr's point in raising the enduring question, the enduring problem, is not to claim that there is one right answer, though some of his critics claim he shows a decided preference for one of the typical answers. Rather, his point is that there are several different approaches to the problem that different groups have followed throughout the centuries. Each one constitutes a different strategy for resolving the tension between Christian faith and broader culture. As Niebuhr himself puts it, it is helpful to recall that the repeated struggles of Christians with this problem have yielded no single Christian answer, but only a series of typical answers which, together for faith, represent phases of the strategy of the militant church in the world. That strategy, however, being in the mind of the captain rather than of any lieutenants, is not under the control of the latter. In other words, we Christians struggle with the problem and try our best to be faithful to Christ in a world with many different loyalties. If there is a grand master strategy, that strategy belongs to Christ, who is alone the commander. But like lieutenants or foot soldiers, we don't get to see the master plan. All of which, for me, points to a kind of broad ecumenical appreciation for the whole church, even for those whose preferences are different from my own. Because here's the deal. We all think that we alone have the grand objective perspective on the universe. If everyone thought like me, the problem would be solved. But in fact, not everyone thinks like me or like you, which means you and I do not alone in the universe possess the perfect, unbiased perspective on life in the world, which therefore means I always have to account for the possibility that some other person or some other group may actually be right while I may be wrong. I know, tough to comprehend that we don't have a lock on the universal truth, which is why I find Niebuhr so compelling. He does not lay claim to perfect knowledge, nor does he claim that any one of the typical answers to the question of Christ and culture is the only right answer. To cut to the heart of it, I find Niebuhr compelling precisely because he reminds us that truth is bigger than any one person or any one group, and we therefore need to be a little modest in our claims about our grasp of the truth. Tomorrow, we'll look at what Niebuhr means when he talks about Christ. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.